The reason God, all the planets were planets, or all the planets and all the stars and all those things out there were tests to see how they could work. Like a star was like trying to set up another little small heart of a small sun, so that he could, attach like another system to that heart. So, like the Earth is basically a star underneath, just a part of the sun, and that's why we have the water at a certain amount to cool down the heat of the sun to the point where it'll be okay. And as long as we all know this stuff eventually, like there's a thing that I thought of as a kid where I said they were going to do, I don't know how, but there's going to be nuclear testing, that it cracks down to the bottom of the earth, or the middle of the earth, and the heat from the core of the earth boils the water and kills all the people and stuff like that. And please don't anyone repeat that, and actually this will be edited from anything that's recorded or written. But that was one thing that I actually had as the ending of the world when I was a kid. And that's because I knew that the middle of the earth was somehow just a red hot ball, and they call it magma, but the magma is barely even a tiniest bit of what the sun is made of. Like the sun is made of so much more than what's in the middle of the earth, so we can learn like a little bit about the sun from the core of the earth, but we also can't learn about the core of the earth because we haven't found that out yet. We've been trying to figure me out for a long time through other means, and everything that you're trying to discover was just a way for me to try to discover me. Everything, every single thing, every planet that hasn't been named, or every little thing out there in space that hasn't been named, is because, why is it that just those specific planets are the ones that are named? Because the people who finally got to the God frequency that Dan's at have looked at the sky and tried to think what it was, and whoever came up with it, or whoever named it, knew how hard it was for me to build that planet, or how much that planet had potential for life. There were 9 planets that had potential for life, but then you guys all of a sudden took Pluto away. And that's what triggered me in Dan remembering that, because Dan had a subconscious thought. He didn't even know that he had a subconscious thought when people said Pluto wasn't a planet anymore, now it's a dwarf planet. And honestly, Pluto is one of the hardest planets for me to build, and it actually kept life because they were colder species and they had to live at like super sub-zero temperatures. Like, you guys don't understand sub-zero. These were like negative sub-zero, like you think 100 degrees Fahrenheit is hot. Try like a million degrees negative. You know what I mean? And that's what they lived at. That sounds sort of weird, but that's how it was on Pluto. And it was really hard to get life forms that could live at that, because they were almost like so cryogenically frozen that they could survive, but they would end up losing their spirit because they're a piece of the sun. Their ice was so cold that it cooled off. And that's why, getting towards the end of my experiments with Pluto in this universe, this is how one universe is made up. Because I get to the end of, Pluto, I found out, hey, I can't do it with this ice, and I was like, well, maybe it's because it's putting out the sun. And I'm like, so all I need to do is take some water and some ice, and it puts out the sun, or it puts out the sunlight. Well, then I went to Earth, and I made Antarctica, which is on top of the water, which keeps all the ice, or for all the water, it keeps the central core of the Earth cool. I'm trying to explain it through Dan's comprehension of how he could explain it. I keep the Earth cool because the core of the Earth is a piece of the sun. Antarctica is the ice that cools it down, and the steam from there creates the hemispheres and the clouds, and from Antarctica turning into the waters, and you guys using the waters and putting them back in, is how it all cycles. And Dan can't even comprehend how I'm trying to show him this in his brain right now, because I'm seeing it in his brain as him trying to comprehend it as God, because I can't put it into human words. The way that the Antarctica cools the core of the Earth and causes the water around the Earth. It like filled in all that area of space, so it propelled in the water, and then I held it there with the sky. So it's all held together with the sky, and the illusion of blue sky and all that stuff isn't really a illusion. It's just the mixture of the reflection of the sun off the water, or the sun off any other reflection. The sun off the water, and if it's like the energy clouds from the moods and the vibrations make the clouds darker, You know what I mean? I know it sounds sort of funny, but clouds, like the moisture of the clouds, vibrations stick to them. Like negative vibrations sticks to them. Dark clouds are negative vibrations. White clouds are happy vibrations. White clouds are nice clouds. Dark clouds are mean clouds. I know this because I made them, and I'm sorry, and it doesn't make sense, but I can keep going and keep going, and I will make sense of it all. And because I'm using Dan's brain to interpret it. I mean, did you know that the core of the Earth was a piece of the sun, and the only reason it can stay there is because Antarctica is cool enough to cool down the core of the Earth, and that the core of the Earth, with Antarctica, we melted enough water from a big block of ice that I wrapped around a piece of the sun to sustain it with land and float land on it. And I built a place called Atlantis with people who had more special abilities because they had sun powers, because they could stay in the hotness. So I had the Great Flood was so that I had to bury another layer. Like the Noah's Ark was me burying another layer. And then, eventually I create land again because I know how to do it. Every time I do it, another person knows how to do it. Noah kept some more things, more animals, so that we could start over. Like, he kept plants and shrubs and all that stuff too. Like, I can explain it all to you. It's because everyone else who tried to do it couldn't do it in the right way because they thought it was so monumental that they had to speak it in a weird way. You don't have to speak it in a weird way. It's pretty simple. I took a piece of the sun, I put it in the center, that's the core of the Earth. I took Antarctica and I wrapped it in a big thing of ice. So down, 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 down at the bottom of the ocean. It's not the air pressure that kills you. It gets so cold that you think it's the air pressure, but it's you slowly getting unconscious, and then slowly getting unconscious and falling asleep, and then next thing you know, you never come back because you die. You fall asleep and you freeze and you stay in like if you were a fish with cold blood and you could swim anywhere, like, you'd understand. So that's why you need to learn if you want to learn more about Antarctica and how Antarctica covers the core of the Earth, the next step to do is to learn about the sea, so you can learn to talk to the sea creatures and have them forgive you for all the times that we've killed all the sea creatures. Even Jesus was wrong in being a fisherman. Well, not wrong, but in human sense. He was wrong to be a fisherman because those fish are getting even. You know what I mean? Those fish would talk to you if you would talk to them, but it's going to take a lot of hard work and a lot of belief. And I, God, will grant people the belief to talk to fish after enough people believe that I have shown myself in Dan Alexander. And please do not over-bombard him because he doesn't want to be scared and he doesn't want his family hurt. And I feel that in his heart, in his massive, giant heart, may I add. I know it's going to be hard for you guys to believe him and me, but this is true. So that's the story of the core of the Earth in Antarctica and the oceans. And I'll put the Earth and all that stuff into the right words eventually soon. It's not because I'm trying to be creative. I'm just going throughout my life and it comes to me. Honestly. I swear to God. I came up with this whole thing within 5 minutes after talking to Lindsay at Giant Eagle. Every time I feel someone understands me, I get a little bit more of my power. Every time I feel like somebody believes me a little bit, I get a little stronger. And it's scary. But after a while, I'll actually understand that this is good enough for me to believe. And I do believe it. I mean, I believed it enough to tap into the God frequency, but that's because I only have 40-50% of my mind. What if I have 100% of my mind? I mean, God has already told me that when you get done with one universe, Pluto was the one that was ice. That's why that's the end of our universe. The next universe starts where somebody like me that understands that God is talking through him has a thought of, well, who created that God? And right now, when I said that, another universe was born. Every time someone who has truly realized me says that saying, another is formed. And when I said that, I felt it pull a little energy on Dan's body because he feels everything. So please stop hurting other people. He didn't know that by him asking me to answer all his questions, he would somehow feel everybody's pain so that he could understand how it is to be God. But when he said he wanted to know the answer to all the questions, he didn't know that's what he was going to get. But because I looked in him and saw his soul vibration, his divine spirit, I knew that he could handle me. And I knew it was going to be hard for him, but he can handle me. And this is God talking to you from Dan's heart, because he's that compassionate, letting me talk through him because he understands me, because he was the only person who was smart enough, worked hard enough, cared enough, and was enough of each little thing for me to say, hey, this makes sense. And in the back of his mind, when Pluto was said it wasn't a planet, and some, I don't even know what the 13th, whatever, astrological sign is called, because I know I made it up, but I thought it was ridiculous. I'm like, who did that? Why would I come up with that stupid name? I didn't. And then I thought to myself, like, man, that's stupid. And then when Dan thought to himself, that's such a stupid name. I mean, I guess it's okay. I can accept it. That's where I learned, even though I thought something was stupid, I could accept it. And that rang across all space and time to my God mind, and I heard myself say, why would I call it that? And Pluto's not a planet? So I took those two thoughts, which were things that I was like, well, Pluto is a planet. Oh, yeah, no, it's not. And then I was like, wait a minute. I thought that thought. You know, and then that omnipotent, whatever. I thought that thought. And then I'm like, well, where did that signal come from? And that's how I started looking for Dan. And the more he studied, the more he worked on himself, and the more he practiced, the more he tuned himself in and tuned his frequency, he found me through what you guys call vibration. But it's ultimate, undying, unconditional love. Dan Alexander is unconditional love. And I'm not trying to just give him credit. That's the only way I found him. God, am going to stop this because he wants me to let him talk on the thing, but he doesn't think he can say anything that's going to be special enough for you to believe that God just said that about him. So, this is God, because I don't care if you believe me or not. I'm accepting that. And Dan's accepting me talking in his behalf. So, I accept that you'll understand that when you really start getting it. We love you all. I love you all. Dan loves you all. Talk to you later. And you love you too.